Hey everyone! So today I'm going to show you how to color manga. I'm using Photoshop CS5 for that, and the tutorial is pretty detailed with lots of step-by-step explanations, but I still try to keep it as short and simple as possible. So I've already opened my file in Photoshop, and the first thing you gotta do is make sure that your layer is editable. So for that you gotta go to image mode and then select RGB color. So now your layer is in background mode, so you just gotta make it a layer with right click and make layer from background. After that I usually use the crop tool to crop the manga side to the panel I want to color, because I rarely ever want to color everything. So yeah. The next step is I will choose the lasso tool and crop out parts of the background, because I don't want to color the background either, and that's preference. You don't need to do this if you want to color it, or if you want to leave the background in the background and just leave it black and white, but I usually crop it out. Once you're done with it, you could theoretically start coloring by creating a new layer underneath our line art layer and set the line art layer to multiply. So I'm gonna show you real quick. Select the brush and the color, and you can color underneath and the lines will be still there. But I personally prefer another method, because afterwards I want to color the line art as well. So for that method I will select the whole layer with our line art and crop it out. Then fill the empty layer completely black, and then you gotta enter the quick mask mode and paste the line art layer onto it again, which will appear in red, and then you leave the quick mask mode again and crop out everything that is selected now, and suddenly you got a transparent line art layer. Now I create a background layer underneath it again and fill it white, and another layer underneath the line art layer, which is our color layer again, and as you can see you can color underneath and the line art is still there. Now I will select the line art layer again and lock its transparency and make sure that its mode is set back to normal and not to multiply anymore. And as you can see, I will select the brush again and the color, and when I go over the line art now, I will only color the lines and not the transparency. So this is what I will do to color the line art. And when using this method, you can easily go over those pixelated areas as well and make them look better. Okay, and before I start coloring for real now, I will just do a little more cropping to the right size. And afterwards I will name the layers. The top one the line art layer, the white one the background layer, and then I will start with coloring the skin, so I will name this empty layer skin. Now to start coloring, you just gotta pick your color. I already have a skin color saved, and either use the brush, but I think that's a lot of effort, so I usually pick the lasso tool and yeah, select all areas which are skin with it, and then use right click, fill, and fill with foreground color with 100%. After I'm done with that, I continue by making a new layer and select the new area I want to color. In this case it's the headband. I select the color and basically do exactly the same, but since I can move this layer underneath the skin layer, I don't need to be precise when selecting the selection where the headband and the skin color meet. So yeah, here I can be a bit sloppy. And then I fill it and I continue with the next layer, put it in underneath again. This time I will do the hair, as all other things in the following, like the white of the eyes and the pupils, the mouth, the shirt, basically everything, and I'm always making new layers for it. And now that I'm done with the basic coloring, I will group all the color layers together and put them into a group which I will call just base colors. In the next step, I will start editing the lines, or let's say coloring them, and this step is not necessary. If you like the black outlines, just leave everything as it is. But if you want to go for it, I will recommend you to work with the eyedropper or color picker tool to choose your line colors. I usually make another layer on top of our line art layer, which I will use as my color palette, like where I save the colors for later use. Once I've picked the color, I will start going over the line art layer and color the certain areas which I want to have this color. And in this case, I'm just starting with the headband and trying to avoid coloring the hair in this case. Next, I will pick the line art color for the hair, and I open the color mixers for that. And then, once I have opened them, I choose a color between my yellow for the base color and black, like around halfway. After picking the color, I will just start coloring the line art of the hair everywhere until I'm completely done with all of it. Also, don't forget to color the hair close to the ears and the eyebrows as well. After that, I will do something to fix the pixelation in the pixelated areas, and yeah, I can just go over it with my line art color and then it will look like that, but that's not the best you can do. It's better if you zoom in very close and then use the eyedropper or color picker tool to pick the lightest color you have within those pixelations when you have your background underneath. Because, like you can see here, if you go over it with that, then it looks way better and the pixelation is almost gone. While coloring these parts, you don't need to worry about the line art, which looks very light now, because later on you will use the actual line art color for the red parts and go over it again. Next, I will do the same for the skin, and if you pick the color and with the halfway to black color picking technique, if it doesn't look right to you, you can just play around a bit with lightness and saturation, and I'm sure you'll get a color you will like. And then just color all the skin line art just like you did it before with the shirt and the hair and whatever. And the same goes for the white parts of the shirt, of course. Next comes the rest of the red parts, the shirt color as well as the line art for the pixelated parts, and this is always a bit tricky because the line art got really light when we colored over it, so I would recommend you to turn off the base color background for the red parts so that you can see the lines clearly again, and then you have to carefully draw them again. This shouldn't take too long though, because it's not necessary to exactly and precisely trace every line, because it will look fine afterwards when you turn the background back on. Now that I'm basically done with coloring the line art, I will go ahead and fix some little mistakes and details and make everything look just the way I want it to. And as you've probably noticed already, I left the line art for the eyes black, and once again this is really just personal preference. Another detail here are the sweat drops. I colored them like the skin line art at first, but I think they'll look better if we make them shiny and whitish, so I'm gonna do this. Moreover, I will see which color I will choose for the mouth. Maybe black looks good, sometimes skin color is better, or dark red. That's just something which depends on your taste and the character you're coloring, so just try out some things. Now we're done with the basic coloring and the coloring of the line art, so we can turn off our color palette layer and go over to shading. That's why I will create another group, which I will just call shade. Since I'll be shading by using a brush, it's easier if we go back to the line art layer, select it, and use the magic wand tool to select everything outside of our character. Maybe you need to fix some things by using the lasso tool, or you have to change the tolerance for the magic wand. But once again, you don't need to be all that precise because it'll look good anyway. Once you're done, you right click the picture and choose the select inverse option, and then you select the group called shade again instead of the line art layer, and then you add a layer mask. Now we create another layer and drag it into our shade group and name it whatever you like, and then it's important to make sure that you set the mode for the layer to overlay. As I already said, we will shade with a brush. I usually use a soft brush and set the size quite big, and sometimes I also lower the opacity. Then you need to try out different colors and how they will affect your picture. For example, the color I used just now made everything very saturated and kind of darker, and it didn't look quite nice, so I changed the color a bit, but it takes a while until you find the color you want to use. It's important that you imagine where your source of light is and then start shading. Like the dark color is the farthest away from your light source and in a way that, well, it is a shadow. And then I would go around halfway through your character and then select the lighter color and start lightning over it from the point where the light source is. And you gotta play around a bit, use different colors, different opacities, and well, at some point you will like the result. Now that I'm done with the general lightning, I will add some cell shading if necessary, which basically just means I'll create another layer, and it's okay if you do it with the layer mode normal, but I prefer overlay here as well. And then you just do cell shading for the darker parts, which basically just means you add a shadow by using just one color and making it some kind of, let's say, flat shadow. If you want to, you can add some other darker and lighter details and highlights to the hair, for example, as well. One of the last things I'm always doing is I'll add a little sparkle to the eyes. For that, I will just use the color picker tool again, take the eye color and then select lighter colors to add the sparkle. Once again, it's important that the sparkle highlight is where the light source hits the eyes, or else it'll look unnatural. Well, and now we're basically done. You can always just add another layer on top of everything you've created before and set it to screen or lighten or darken or soft light or whatever you like, and just try out some things. Sometimes it looks really nice if you add some other effects to the picture as well, but basically that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have further questions or want to request another tutorial or whatever, you can just leave a comment or message me on Tumblr or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. So, thank you.